from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I know you're a man of letters and that you're sufficiently equipped to know, like my other colleagues, that the scope of work for anybody to be a graduate is to be qualified in character and learning. The absence of any of these two, you are not fit for purpose, and you cannot be a graduate. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it looks like as a society, as a community, as a country, that we have lowered our guard. And you see our young men and women gradually gravitating towards cultism. Mr. Speaker, I remember in the early 80s, if you talk about groups in the universities, you'll be talking about probably Sea Dogs, you'll be talking about Buccaneers. Actually, we used to joke those days in the University of Calabar that these are Buccaneers who sell on land. And we have them. But unfortunately, just like any aspect of our national life, we appear to have deteriorated. If you put any barometer to measure the level of decadence, they will all read the same, whether it's education, whether it is the uniformed forces, whether it is even our politics. There is some level of deterioration that has degraded us, unfortunately. And if you look, why do students join cultism? Some do so for purposes of security. They want to be secure. Some others are challenged by the idea of confidence. They are not confident until they join one group or the other. Others are a matter of pride. They think they are bigger than they are when they join these groups. And as a society, as community, as university community, we have not provided the alternatives that will engage these young people. I remember that when we were growing up, once you finish your university and you're on vacation, you will be engaged one way or the other, either by way of youth programs. There were also vacation jobs. You could also be engaged teaching younger people who are in secondary schools. But these things are no more. And you know that the idle mind is also the devil's workshop. And you imagine what will happen to our society when these young men, who ordinarily would have been equipped with other prospects in life, begin to have this mentality and they get into government, they get into politics, and they think they can build their dreams on this kind of attitude. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think we need to do much more than we are doing. There should be mentoring programs for young people. Even as parliamentarians, I think we can do more. We can have youth programs. We can create scenarios where people are able to teach the secondary school students immediately they are on vacation. We can have youth programs that can create some kind of engagement for our young people. First and foremost, there are no jobs. And I remember that in this parliament, Mr. Speaker, you were also part of the driving force in the 8th Assembly. We passed an infrastructure bill with regard to the reactivation of Ajokuta, completion of Ajokuta. In other jurisdictions, they do it. We passed an infrastructure bill that will enable government with $1 billion, as claimed by the people who are running Ajokuta, that this entity could be completed with $1 billion. There's no point having savings of 40 billion overseas when you can take 1 billion and complete it and create immediate 10,000 jobs. And the collateral consequence of those 10,000 jobs and completion of it will give you about 100,000 jobs. And our young men and women after school can get gainfully engaged in doing some manual jobs or even some other intellectual jobs or even science jobs in those entities. So, Mr. Speaker, there has to be a structured approach to solving Nigeria's problems. It cannot be at the whim and caprices of anybody because it cannot work. So I believe strongly that we need to do some serious alternatives to engage our young people. There is also the need for us to have a database, as my colleagues have said. In the police, when I was in private practice, I did a work for DFID, and they call it case tracking. We should be able to have the database of people who are engaged in these nefarious activities. Without it, you cannot monitor, because the next minute somebody gets involved, the other minute is admitted in another university. There is no database of rustication. And this goes essentially to the issue of the crisis of identity in Nigeria. It's the root of all our crimes, as well as the issue of address. Today, you have people still receive letters in community primary schools, community secondary schools, in churches and mosques. How can you, in 21st century, be receiving letters through those means? It means that even when you extract these people and the individual, there's no address. Now you cannot identify people with national ID card. These are compelling issues that is at the root cause of the problem we have. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. We need to do more as individuals and as a society, and I believe that it should be carried. Thank you very much.